I love it. What's going on, everybody? Feder here from 3D Print SOS. Welcome back to the channel. Really excited to continue this project, and we're about midway in terms of printing is concerned. There's a bunch in front of me, there's a bunch to the side of me, but I still have a ton more to go. We're using 3D Max filaments. You see that giant stack here. I'm going to use all of that stuff. The Aquila S2 handled PLA really great. Love the texture, the fitment of all the parts. Here, let's listen to that. Literally perfect fitment, so great for PLA, as you saw in the video. But what I'm really excited for is this Mingda Magician X 3D printer. The reason why I'm really excited to open this one is because everything that you might need in a printer, one-stop shop, right over here. You take this thing out of the box, you level it with an auto bed leveler. It has a touch screen, all these features that we'll see here in the unboxing. And I'm gonna handle that portion the same way I normally do on this channel. We are going to unbox it. I'm gonna talk while pulling all the things out. We're gonna get it all out on this table, and then we're going to print. And we're gonna print some big, long prints on it. I'm gonna spend a few days printing. We're gonna use some of that black in order to print some under chassis stuff so that we can kind of like get started to see how everything kind of fits together. So there's still a lot of work ahead. We're still waiting on a few things like the all of the bolts that are coming from China, from AliExpress. There's actually quite a lot of hardware that you need for this kit, and I found that to be the most economical way. I am keeping track with a spreadsheet of all of the costs for everything and a breakdown of all the parts that I got. I'm trying to get them mostly on Amazon if I can, because you can get them really fast. There's returns if something goes wrong. This is going to be really easy for somebody to get into, and once we get a lot of this together, I'll go ahead and make another video on that, and I'll include that in case you guys are looking for what parts that I use. So yeah, let's handle it, like I said, the same way. I'm gonna clean all this up, and we're gonna get ready to get everything out of the box, and I'm really excited to see this machine. So let's get started. All right, see you in a second. All right, let's do the unboxing. All right, I got my blade. Like a cut straight, that would be nice. I got their own custom tape, so that's new, that's cool. Looks like we have the type of styrofoam that goes all over the place. Not the kind that's like high density, like some other boxes. Nicely packaged in here. Let me lean it forward so you can see. It has a lid. Okay, it kind of opens like a cooler. All right, let's see what we got in here. Let me try to set it to the side so I can pull stuff out for you. We have some kind of plastic door. Oh, that's right. On the front left of the machine, there's actually a little cubby, so you can put tools and whatnot in there. Let's see. We have a full-size SD, a V6 style nozzle, the manual. I'm just gonna check to see if it has slicer settings. It does. Slicer settings are in the back. That's nice. A full-size wrench with a 10 and an 8 on it. Got a nice little Allen key set. Little sample 3D pen filament. Now, I've used 3D pen filament in printers before. I ordered a giant sample pack one time, and it was all 3D pen filament. And all it means is it's really low temperature filament. So it can print at an even lower temperature, but usually around 190-ish, 195 works really well for it. Some hardware and some extra PTFE tube. Not much here, but that's because this shouldn't be a kit. This should be a fully assembled printer, or at least mostly assembled. Here we have our power cable, huge bag that it's in. Okay, we got the spool holder, injection molded, one piece. All right, and the rest is the body of the printer. I'm gonna set the box down and pull it up. All right, looks like this is the top portion of the printer. Lots and lots of grease on the lead screws. Not a bad thing, just a lot of it. And on top, there's quite a bit actually. Wow, good thing I didn't touch that all over myself. Let's take a look at the front of it. Look at the size of this unit here. I mean, that's my whole hand. Looks like it has a BMG style extruder. It is loose, probably so that it doesn't get damaged in shipping. Everything seems so large on this thing. Huge, what, 2040, 2060 extrusion here that this all rides on. Got the ribbon cable, interesting little tensioner that tensions on the front instead of the side. A lot of injection molded plastic here with their own custom mounts. Looks good. All right, let me move it aside. Let's get the body out. Wow, surprisingly lightweight. And what's interesting is now that I'm touching it, is the whole front casing here is plastic. It's all lightweight plastic. Interesting cable on the side here. I'll show you what I'm seeing here in a minute. Let me take the rest out. Actually, this is all that was left in there. A little tiny screw. So an extra screw in both of the machines. No big deal. Let me rearrange this real quick. All right, so I got everything out of the box, and really there isn't much in here. And that's because, like I said, this isn't really a kit. You can just put this on top of that, use the hardware that came with it, and then it should be all done. It looks like even the spool kind of just clips on here. Let's see. It just clips. You know, the nice thing that I'm seeing here is there's a lot of custom pieces on here. In fact, I just noticed that it looks like you can take this off and put it on the other side. It is like some kind of little plastic injection molded clean design. There's just styrofoam everywhere, but other than that, everything looks really nice. A lot of plastic on this machine. The whole bottom is plastic. All the side pieces are plastic. This whole top of the gantry here is all plastic. It's injection molded. The motors for the Z, the motor mounts for the Z, look like they are, well, no, actually they feel pretty cold. Hard to tell. Nope, that's injection molded as well. So lots of molded custom parts on here. I don't know if there's anything that I could say is a clone of something else that I know. Obviously this BMG direct drive is probably a clone of something, but you know, I can't wait to take this apart and see what's under here. I'm really intrigued about this so far. Let me go ahead and do a quick assembly. It looks like there is a recess on top of this plastic body where this just slides right in, and looks like it just screws in from the bottom with a couple screws. The assembly on this is as easy as it could get. It is 2 pieces and some screws. I'm gonna go ahead and put it together off camera, and I'll see you in just a second. The reason why I say off camera is because I have to clean it up. As you can see, there's quite a lot of little pieces of foam everywhere. So I'm gonna clean that up, and I'll put it together, and I'll see you here in a second. Oh, by the way, I did find a second loose screw. Just little gifts, you know? So we'll have to find where those go. There's no quick way to get under here. You kind of have to go around the perimeter to take apart a whole bunch of screws to remove the casing to look in, and it says warranty void if seal is broken, which is interesting because sometimes you need to get in there to fix one of their own issues, but it does look almost like an appliance. Everything here has been thought of in terms of packaging and what it's going to look like and what it's going to do. There's a lot of function here. Even though the bed is clipped on the front, for example, it kind of like slides into the notches in the back. Like you put it in this way and then you clip it, and it can't move, like it won't fall off like some of the other machines because it's held together with what looks like an ABS plastic. So there's a lot of little things here that are just really smart, and that's just me glancing around. I haven't even got a chance to really get into it yet. So far, really interesting. Let's keep going. That is such an easy install. There's a couple other machines that come to mind, kind of like the Focus Odin 5, that is also really easy to install. and to get started, but there's definitely some really interesting concepts here that are very original and that I personally haven't seen before in other machines. One of the things that I noticed right away is there's no bed wheels. This is a solid bed. It is mounted on many different points on a plastic mount that goes all the way across. So there's a lot of injection molded parts here that are probably really inexpensive to make and to I guess get made just in general. So that's all welcome here. I like the way all this looks. It looks really solid. It feels really nice. It has so much grease on it. The funny thing is, so far, is my hands are covered in grease and I'm touching all the black and it's getting kind of covered. There's a lot of grease on the lead screws. Like if I go take a brush, I can probably get some off of these two and put them on at least 2 other machines. The other part, I don't know if you guys noticed in the sped up thing of me putting this together, but I'm constantly blowing off little tiny beads of that packaging foam because that stuff's all over the place. But that's just funny stuff to talk about when everything looks this nice. There is right on the top here, I know it's not a very tall view, there is storage for your SD card, and this does look like it uses a full-size SD card. There's a USB-C and a USB 2.0 all on the front. Gotta love that plastic peel. We got a touch screen. Let me just continue to go over the things I saw. I guess the way that you install this is you set the top portion of the machine, the top piece, straight into these pieces that are already kind of like recessed for this, and they're like keyed, so the plastic goes into the slot, so there's no way you can put this in the wrong orientation. And then there's 2 places you can put hardware, 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and now the whole thing is held. Then you can tip it to the side, and there's a single hole that can take another screw, a larger diameter screw, and you just put that in. That's that. You plug in the cables. They're all in, directly next to where they need to be plugged in. Over here on this side, where the X-axis is, there is this cable that's really easy to plug in, and off of it we have a stepper motor cable and an end stop and a nice little clip that keeps this nice and tidy and looking towards the back. The bed also has an interesting cable. I've seen this before on an ANET machine. It looks a little bit different. I mean, this one has their own logo on it, so clearly they not only sourced all of this stuff, but they care about how all this looks, the presentation, the fact that this does look like one of a kind, at least one of a kind to me at the moment. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what powers this. If you guys are interested in me opening this machine up, let me know. I will gladly take a look. I just don't need to at the moment because I just don't know much about it. So I'd like to try it first before I open it up. But let me know if you guys are interested to see what the power supply looks like, what the actual motherboard looks like. I will gladly make a video on a deeper dive. What I am interested in though is what's behind this shroud. Because I am especially curious after seeing the Aquila S2. So let me go ahead and get a closer look, and let's take that apart. All right, I know I'll block the view at least once during this whole thing, so I apologize in advance. I ended up putting all the tools in the little cubby. Here, let me actually show you. There's a little cubby right down there, and that's where I went ahead and put all the tools. But I just noticed it didn't come with a screwdriver. There's more of that foam. It didn't come with a screwdriver, and we need a Phillips to take off the shroud. So let me grab just whatever I have on hand here, and let's take a peek. All right, so here's what we got. Let me actually take this off because it looks like there's a really nice and convenient plug right back here. Let me make sure you guys can see what I see. Here you go. Okay, so I had to take out this little thumb wheel. There goes the spring. This little thumb wheel has a spring on it and a washer. The way that these dual gear extruders work is you kind of screw it in just a little bit, and this gives you the tension when you go to put something in. It pulls this out some against the spring, and that's how you get tension on the filament. So I had to take it off to take the shroud off. No big deal. I do see it's dual gears. What's interesting is the whole thing passes through a filament sensor. So it has a filament sensor, has one of those small pancake extruders, so this is nice and light. Has a little sister board. Let me go ahead and rotate for just a second, just to see what we got going on in there. Looks like there is some plugs left. I can't see. There's power and such right on that motherboard. I can see 5 volts. So there's room for expansion for other accessories there. Let's see what we have back there. It looks like there are 2 30mm fans cooling this thing. Oh, there goes the grease. All right, let me rotate it this way. So it looks like right there we have 2 30mm fans blowing from the back side, from kind of where this thing moves. How they get a lot of air, I'm not sure, but we're fitting to find out, aren't we? Okay, I see that most of this is made of aluminum, so the whole thing kind of acts like a heatsink. And it looks like some of the fan is letting air just blow completely through this. And the bottom fan is definitely hitting the heatsink that we have down here. I see a V6 style nozzle. Let me go ahead and take off this little sock just to see what we got going on. Okay, we actually have one of those little thermistor sleeves that the thermistor slides in from the back side. And even though this is a V6 style nozzle down here, it looks like it's just like a threaded screw with a, oh yeah, see I can spin this thing down and up. So yeah, the heatsink is just screwed on to a threaded heat break. And I probably assume, and I'll check that later, but it looks like there's probably a PTFE tube that goes all the way through and goes down. I'm not sure what these little metal clip looking things are. All right, and then let's take a look over here. On the shroud itself, there is a cooling fan. Looks like it's a pretty standard blower size fan, so it's 24 volts, 7 amps. And the shroud itself just kind of looks like a ground piece of metal, and it just helps deflect the air to the bottom of the build plate going this way on an angle. And that's why this design exists. Okay, so really nice, and it's wide, so it's not the most compact hot end I've ever seen, but the assembly definitely looks really nice. I guess we'll find out how hot this gets with the fans here. I mean, there is maybe 1/4 of an inch behind the fans. That's where they get air. So I'm definitely interested to see how this behaves. But yeah, so far, I like this. I like the short wires that go over here. They make it really easy to manage with a little board. Everything looks decent. All right, so what I'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back to how it was. I'll plug it in, and I'll kind of dig around the menu and see what it's all about, see what leveling is like, and then once again, I'll just talk about what I'm finding, what the experience is like when you first see it, first work with it. So far, there's a lot to like here. I like a lot of the design decisions that they made. It seems like some things that just should progress in this direction to make things easier to manufacture, put together, assemble for the user. There's a lot here that that's not just a copy of a copy, which is nice. And it's kind of refreshing to see, I guess. Maybe this is a copy of something else, but I don't know. So far, so good. I kind of like it. I'm interested to see how it performs. All right, let me put everything together. I'll see you here in a second. I went ahead and took a look at the manual here, and it's actually pretty well written. Just pictures, really easy to understand what it does. It looks like there's a 1-button setup for preheating to PLA, one button set up to do the bed leveling. The ABL sensor will take care of everything else. And it looks like once you start a print, you baby step until you get the perfect leveling, and it saves that setting for future prints. Looks like it's really easy to use. This thing really has some magic tricks up its sleeve, the Magician X. Just want to kind of like talk about as I experience things, as I find things in the machine. I realized that on the hot end here, there are foam pieces, but also there's 2 sets of cooling fans. They're the same style, those little pancake 40mm blowers, but they are on both sides. So the one I was showing you in the shroud, that's just the one half. There's another one on this side. And the fans themselves that are both running, they're fairly quiet. I feel like I can hear whatever's inside the box a little bit more, but definitely not loud by any means. Now, here is the sound of the cooling fans. I don't know if you can hear that in the mic, but it has this little strange whine to it. And I think it's only one side. I have a feeling that one of my fans might have something in it, so I'll take a closer look a little later. But it has a funky sound to it. See? Really quiet otherwise. Oh, one other thing that I'm seeing here is there is no probe, there's no sensor on the hot end. But what I do see is on the far right hand side here, right over here, there is a kind of like a plastic finger that goes into a hole right here on the bottom. And I'm assuming somehow that is going to tell some kind of pressure difference, and I don't know what it's gonna do. It's called the Magician X for a reason, apparently. All right, I really wanna see what leveling is like. Should I just do it right now, like it's live? Yeah, let's take care of it. Let's go back, and let's hit leveling. And actually, I think it's going to ask to heat, I would assume. Yeah, it's heating the bed and the nozzle. Let's go ahead and do the famous peel. Ah, perfect static cling. Okay, looks like it's all heated up. The hot end went to 150 and the bed went to 50 degrees. Looks like it homed the hot end now on the X, and now the Z is going down. I'm interested to know how this works without a probe. Here we go, so let's see what it does. So it's going down very slowly, and as soon as it made contact with the bed, it stopped. Yeah, it looks like as soon as it makes some kind of contact with the bed, it stops. Looks like the bed rides on 2 20 by 20 extrusions, but they're about 3 sets of 20-20 extrusions wide. So it would be like a 20-60 equivalent, but it's 2 20-20s with a piece of plastic like channel in the center. Once again, kind of like a injection molded plastic piece to hold everything together. A lot of smart moves here. Okay, and it says bilinear leveling done. Click to resume. Just gonna let it home all the way. Okay, and it looks like it's done. So now, if I recall correctly, according to our little manual here, after we do this, we have to hit preheat, and we have to hit PLA, and that's gonna heat up to 75 on the bed and 210 on the hot end. It looks like there are 3 presets, PLA, ABS, and TPU. And there's settings you can choose between, I'm assuming, to edit those in whichever way that you like. So PLA, ABS here goes all the way up to 255 on the hot end. So that's interesting. That alone might might trigger me to take apart the hot end towards the end of this. For now, I'm gonna print with some PLA, see what this machine is all about, and then we're gonna go ahead and check out why they can print with at 255 on the hot end. and hopefully we'll find out that what's inside of that hot end. But so far, at least visually, the nozzle itself looks like a V6 style nozzle. All right, I'm gonna let this heat up. We're gonna put some 3D Max filament in there. I'm gonna go ahead and make a profile because luckily this uses Cura. So I'll go ahead and make the custom printer profile and I'll export it. So look in the description below for the profile so you guys don't have to search if you end up buying one of these machines. It'll just be in the description to set you up. All right, let's see how it prints, right? See you here in a second. It has been non-stop 3 days of printing. Literally, as soon as it stops, I've caught it and started a new print so far. They've been full bed prints, and I'm sure you'll see them, and you are seeing them right before this. But I just wanted to show you how clean the prints are coming out. Now, I know this is black PLA, and it's kind of hard to see, but as you can see it catching on the light here, things are looking really, really well. Nothing has curled even one bit. In fact, I have noticed that this particular bed, even though most of my printers have the same type of bed and size, bed plate, this one is really, really sticky. Like it's even sticky to the touch, especially when it's warm. And I'm actually having trouble taking prints off. And what I'm doing with this one is I'm going to go take it to the freezer. Now, it has been sitting for a few hours, so it is cool to the touch. It's room temperature. It's actually somewhat chilly in the basement even. But I'm going to go throw it in the fridge and see if I can pop it off then. Not in the fridge, in the freezer for about 5 or so minutes. But so far, that's worked in the past, so I'm going to go ahead and give that a go. And actually, one more thing that I'll do before that is I'm going to take apart the hot end because I want to see what's in there, especially because you can print ABS right from the printer at 255. So I'm definitely going to tear that down and just take a closer look. Another thing worth mentioning is the UI itself is very, very simple. There isn't much calibration you can do, if any. However, everything else seems to be really easy to do. It's fast, it's responsive, the touchscreen's nice. And the fact that you can hook it up to your machine, I know it's running Marlin, so we'll be able to run, we'll be able to send code through things like Pronterface or Octoprint if you have it, things of that nature. So technically calibrating this shouldn't really be an issue, but so far I haven't needed to calibrate. And that brings me to my next point. One of the reasons where you print this little calibration cube to put this bearing in, the point is, let me show you. This piece right here, it's kind of like one of the pieces that holds all the links for the truck. And in this, let me see if you can see this. See this little, that little piece on both sides? It's kind of like on an angle. That is supposed to hold the transmission case. Let me get that. All right, so this is one of the pieces that was printed on the Aquila S2, as you can see by that bottom texture. And in here it has these keys that should be the same shape as on here. And the reason why you do that little calibration is because this is printed 2 different days on 2 different machines. And as long as you get that calibration correct, you can use horizontal expansion, for example, to make the holes a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. All of this should fit right in. Let's hear this. Bam, look at that. Perfect fitment. 2 different machines, 2 different parts that have to fit with each other. So far, so good. Really digging the Magician, specifically just how easy it is to use. And I guess that's its whole point, huh? So the other machines so far, kind of like towards do-it-yourself, modify whatever you need. This one would be slightly harder to do because there's a lot of like proprietary plastic. Actually, a majority of it is plastic. But the ease of use is pretty good. I'm really actually enjoying using the Magician X. All right, let's keep going. I have a lot more to print. So let's keep putting it through its paces, and I'll see you back here for the conclusion. All right, the conclusion. I have been printing with this machine absolutely non-stop for 4 days. As soon as a print has been finished, I've just started another print. So it has been an absolute workhorse. And it has just finished a 17.5-hour print. I let it cool, and then I went ahead and took apart the entire hot end and the entire direct drive unit, because I'm wondering about the preset temperature on here to 255 degrees for ABS. As we all know, if the hot end is lined with PTFE tube, then you might want to be concerned about going that high in terms of temperatures, especially if the PTFE goes all the way down to the nozzle itself. So I went ahead and taken everything apart. There's a lot of neat things actually on the assembly and how this is done, how the sensor works, and I'll get into that in a minute. But here is the business end of the machine, the hot end itself. There it is. It is a really compact little unit, and it does use a V6 nozzle. So that means you can buy this nozzle anywhere. You can buy different types of nozzles. This one is brass, but you can buy steel. You can buy things like Zodiac 3D, which are definitely my favorite nozzles, which is what I'll probably be throwing in here. The other part is I can't really get the heat break out right now. It needs some heat to do. I'll just leave it in there. But it looks like the heat sink easily unscrews, and it rests at the top of the threads there to keep it cool as high as it goes, giving it a little heat break right there. And if we look inside, I don't know if you'll be able to see it with the lighting I have here, but there is a PTFE tube in there. So the PTFE tube actually touches the nozzle, which was my original concern. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend going really high in temperature. Stick to PLA until you can get at least a Capricorn in there. If you can get a hold of Tech Boss, my favorite PTFE tubing, that would be even better, but I haven't been able to find them in months. And after about a year of recommending it all over the channel, they have not reached out in any way to me. I've tried, or not responded to me rather. I've tried reaching out on their website, I've tried emailing them, I tried on social media. Tech Boss, if you guys for some reason watch my videos, let's get those back out on the market. I really love those tubes and we need them. The second best is Capricorn tubing. It's not quite as high rated in terms of temperature goes, but that tube, you can get that tubing. It's really inexpensive, and you'd be able to line this heat break with it, and it would help you print things a little bit higher sustained temperatures than under around 230. So that's a nice little upgrade path for this if you want to print other things than PLA. So I have not tried TPU, I've not tried ABS, I've not tried PETG on this. I've just stuck with PLA for now, and the PLA performance is great. As you saw by some of the footage, the quality is really high. The only thing I can say is it sticks a little too well to the plate itself. I kind of want to switch the plate to just bare glass. I'm going to flip it and just use that side, I think, because I'm having a really hard time taking prints off this thing. I would have to put them in the freezer, wait about 5 minutes, then they do pop off if I hit them with something a little bit and get a razor underneath. But if you keep that up, you're definitely going to damage the surface anyway. So definitely super sticky, and honestly having it stick is probably better than not sticking at all. So not so much a negative, but worth noting on my particular machine, it is some of the stickiest surface I've ever come across, which is interesting. The other super neat part about this hot end is the way that this direct drive works. The leveling sensor is the whole hot end itself. There's actually little conductors that touch the metal block, so it essentially makes your whole hot end and the nozzle the sensor for leveling. So as soon as it touches the bed, that triggers the leveling and it senses it, and that's how it works which is really neat. So there's not a sensor sticking out somewhere on the side that has more wiring, things along that nature. There's a little sister board that takes care of all the wiring here. It keeps it nice and tidy. Everything is covered by this nice cover. The only thing I can say, and I'm really reaching for negatives here for some reason, is some of the hardware that's used on the machine uses Phillips heads, and it'd be really nice just to convert these to Allen, just to be able to use an Allen wrench so that you don't have a chance to strip these things. Really nitpicking here. A little bit more about the machine itself. Everything is plastic. There's a few extrusions here that you need, but the whole tub is plastic. Inside of the box itself, there's actually really small little extrusions just basically holding up this entire gantry system up here. There's a lot of molded plastic everywhere at the top, in the middle, on the bottom. And it makes it look really nice. It looks like a nice completed, finished machine, if that makes sense. The other part that's probably one of the most important parts of the machine outside of this is the bed. It doesn't have springs, it doesn't have bushings, it doesn't have O-rings, there's no rubber or spring. It is just a fixed height, fixed position bed that rides on 4 wheels. It is not adjustable in any way. So it's really aimed at the person who just wants to hit bed level. It levels in a few minutes, and when it's done, you don't have to worry about it. The only thing I can actually complain about, like a legitimate only one thing that I've found so far, is if I step back from my machine and I look at the bed, my entire bed plate is skewed, and I tried adjusting it by removing the wheels and adjusting their height, and I think that's how I'll be able to do it. I have to kind of add a shim to make it straight, and the whole system compensates for that. You can tell by looking at the Z motors while it's moving on the X-axis that it is compensating for the bed, and the first layers on this thing have been perfect. So I know that the leveling system is really good, but on my particular machine I do have a skewed bed plate, and it's not the metal or the glass that's nice and flat and straight. It is the actual carriage itself kind of leans to the left. So I do have to find some way to adjust that just to make it more accurate, because if that's skewed, even though it compensates for it, if you need a perfectly square piece, which is actually what I'm going to need for some of the stuff to fit perfectly, I'm going to potentially run into some issues. So that might be a complaint, but I know that's not going to matter for 99% of people. The strong suit of this is, like I said, you take it out of the box, you put in a couple screws, you hit level, and you're ready to print. That is probably one of the easiest and fastest machines to get up and running that I have ever dealt with. So that's definitely it. And this nice, base at the bottom, this whole plastic tub has this really nice little drawer so you can put all your tools in it. The only thing I could say about the drawer, it'd be nice if the door kind of had hinges on it so I can just leave it up. Taking it fully off every time isn't necessarily fun. But still, the convenience, the ease of use, the looks, all of it is extremely positive. I have nothing but great things to say about my first impressions with this machine. We'll see how it goes long term and how it performs, but so far in these past 4 days of non-stop printing, the machine has just been flawless. Like I said, one complaint about the bed, but even that's kind of a minor complaint in the grand scheme of things. I doubt that that's going to happen to all machines, and even though it happened, it's still printing perfectly fine. It compensates for that issue. Alright guys, I think that's it for me for this machine. Very happy with it. Definitely take a look. Check the description below because I actually have a $20 off coupon for this machine, so you can get it at a really nice discount. 20 bucks off could get you a roll of filament, can get you some upgrades, so not a bad thing. Definitely check that out. Speaking of things in the description, I will have a PLA profile of this machine down there. I know one is included with the machine, and in the book you can actually really easily set this up for Cura, but I wanted to make some tweaks so I can print things like you saw in this video. So it's a really specific profile, a 1.6 layer height. So check that out if you guys are interested in printing something like this or just want to try a nice PLA profile for this machine. Please hop into our Discord if you have any questions, if you want to chat to like-minded people, if you want to share your prints, you want to talk about machines like this, Discord is definitely the way to go. Links in the description below. The other thing is Patreon. I have a Patreon set up for this channel, so if you guys want to support the channel outside of subscribing and hitting like, definitely check out Patreon. You can help directly, and then also you get perks like being able to see all the videos first before everyone else, discussing them. You'll get your own perks for the Discord channel in addition, so a lot of nice things there. And as a little update for this project, I still have a ton to print, and I'm actually going to continue printing on this machine and on the other machines just to get things wrapped up. I'm still waiting on the belts, and I'm still waiting on the hardware. The hardware is actually in customs right now, which is the fastest I've ever gotten hardware from China. So I might have found a really nice seller. Like I said, I'm keeping track of everything that I've purchased, and I'm gonna have a link in the separate video about the project, so that you guys can order really similar components and follow along if that's what you're interested in doing. So project-wise, everything's coming along. I'm going to print TPU, by the way, on this machine at the end because I need a spare tire. I only have bought 4 tires for this, and there's a spare tire for the trunk. So I'll be printing a tire out of TPU, so I'll be testing the TPU performance of this machine. And if you guys want to see that, let me know so I can make a video on it. All right, I think that's all the updates for me. If you guys have any questions, like I said, I'll see you all in the comments, right? Later.